All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode. This is kind of riding the coattails of a recent episode we did talking about celebrating our 1 year here on YouTube, which has been really cool. This is going to be more about within that year as small YouTube creators, what we've learned so far. And there's been a lot of lessons learned from this year. We'll go into some of like the biggest challenges and what we learned or what our solutions are. So if you're like a brand new YouTuber, you're trying to figure some of this out, maybe we'll touch on some things that can help you out with. Andy, let's talk about our first biggest challenge that we learned so far.
Sure. I mean, we started with the idea that everything's going to work out fine. And we learned that's not always the case. And one thing that probably was the most obvious issue we would have became our biggest issue, which is you and I are on opposite sides of the world. And
Yep.
we love the internet. It's bizarre how well it works, how connected we can be within milliseconds. But when we were streaming, we found out that there was a big problem with delays, with me starting to or my mouth is moving but the sound is different, or so it was really a bit of a challenge. Sometimes I was so blurry. Like I would because we were streaming, I could see both of us, and then you would be crystal clear and I would be like a ghost or something drifting around, and we realized that was a really big problem. And as well, sometimes we needed some of our software to use a VPN, which is this way to get through firewalls and things. That was also causing a problem. And but we did get lucky and find a solution, Anne-Marie, to this.
Yeah, so that is something that I think we kind of knew might be an issue just from trying to communicate with our loved ones across the world.
Right.
Is nothing new. And there were a couple nights where we're like, you know what, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Right.
Like, it's just too glitchy, too slow. There's
Right.
too much of a delay. Like, even
Right.
if, and then for those of you who may or may not understand this, if you're on your journey of like YouTube is editing. Sometimes just delaying and waiting until you have a better connection to record
Right.
would end up saving so many hours of editing in the long run. So we definitely had some evenings where we're just like, okay, we're throwing our hands up. That's it.
Well, let
But
me add
for
this,
other
though,
ones,
Emery. Like at one point, I literally tried to move all my audio like half a second forward so it would match my mouth. And it took me
yeah.
like 3 hours, and I just gave up. I was like, this is ridiculous, because I could move it a little bit, and then it was like too forward or it was too behind, and to get it exactly to match, it didn't work. But we did find a solution.
Yeah, we did. So overall, for when we did have a good internet connection, so we discovered, and for people who are in this industry will already know, but the clap method. So if you have multiple audio and video inputs to make the same video, you want them to like know where they align. And so if you both clap at the same time, before you can just line up that clap, and then everything else, like when you're editing, is also aligned. So that really helped. We also learned the benefit of, if we have a really good internet connection and we're rolling, we want to record as much as we can
Right.
so
Right.
that we have plenty of content to work with should the times, and again, we've got lives outside of this, we've got like full life commitments outside of this, so should the precious time where we can align our schedules to record not work out, we've got lots of content to work on, instead of sitting back and like just recording one episode, editing it, and then like
Right.
the next week recording another episode. We've like learned to really churn through a lot of recordings just
Yep.
in case, which
Yep.
has been, that was another really good like lesson learned. But at the beginning, you're just figuring out how all this stuff works. So you can't crank out a ton of content all at once. Like, you have to do like one at a time until like you kind of like understand how like all of this is working. right? So,
Yeah.
or what works best for you.
Well,
So,
I think the fun thing to me, and it's a little bit maybe embarrassing perhaps, but we have our first videos on our channel, and you can see the
yeah.
evolution. And I'm kind of proud of that
Yeah.
evolution more than embarrassed, actually, where we're showing this commitment. We're showing that we are learning, that we are getting it. But one of the things that's, I hope, cool about this video is some of the things we've learned. We're going to tell you that you don't have to start from that same challenge, but it doesn't mean you will have no challenges. There are more challenges ahead for everyone, almost at every step. But one of the big things I found was the evolution of in just 1 year of the software that we use. And one thing that I was very interested in, Emery, was when I needed it, it came. And what that was the Apple Creator Studio subscription model. And
Yeah.
as we started out, I was editing and I was using iMovie. I was using actually PowerPoint to make thumbnails, which, please don't comment too meanly to me about that for why I started there. But of course, AI told me to start there. And then when you get to have the subscription model, I got Final Cut Pro, which I changed to, which is obviously much more advanced than iMovie. I got a Pixel. I always forget the name. Pixel Pro, a Pixelmator Pro, whatever. But I'm so new to it, actually. But that's what I'm starting to use to make thumbnails. So everything in the Creator Studio was really powerful, and I think we can make a video where I can remember the name and talk about it much more clearly, because it really changed our channel, Emery.
Yeah, yeah. So that is something that, there is the final video that you see, and then like everything that went into it ahead of time, whether that was, again, like us aligning a recording time between
Right.
our time differences, figuring out what softwares to use,
Yep.
how are we going to get audio to work, how are we going to
Yep.
capture the best video and audio
Yep.
knowing that we're apart,
Yep.
right? And so
Mm.
all of that was very it was a challenge, but we learned so much through all that. And then of course like the editing and the backdrop, right?
Yep.
And
Well, I
we
have.
also learned,
Mm-mm.
go ahead.
Well, I just when editing, I want to give you guys a little extra here, which is there's a website app, whatever, but I think it's just a website called PhotoP, PEA, PhotoP, and I found out it's the absolute best, including Pixelmator Pro and all these other ones, to give you a really clean, take away the background image. So you have an image, let's say I'm trying to make a thumb, I've got Anne Marie's head, I need to get rid of the background. If I'm doing that, then this photop.com, I think it's a British company, it does a great job of getting rid of the background. So you have that PNG file. And these are just the kind of things that you learn that you get better at. So we are not being sponsored by Photop, but Photop can definitely reach out to have a sponsor in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, so little things like that, little tricks on, how we're able to get to like do this quickly, what's easy to use, what's familiar, what's compatible, all those good things. And then we also learned, I think that, at the beginning, I remember when we first sat down and we're like, oh, there's these huge creators like Crystal Collects
Right.
and all these different
Deep
kinds, and we're
Pocket
like, oh, they're so
Monsters. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Deep Pocket Monsters, yeah, there's like so many cool, awesome, big creators. And we were kind of speculating on like, okay, what kind of Pokemon creators do we want to be, and
Right.
how do we want to bring Chinese Pokemon to the masses,
Right. Right.
And so, there's all kinds of, there's cozy, creators, there's pack ripping where they just go as fast as they can,
Right.
and kind of like everything in between. And so we quickly, while we started with kind of those like really big, awesome creators as really like really professional models
Mm,
of the industry. We also learned about like this other smaller content creators like
mm,
us, and realized, there's everything in between. And
right.
so that was really one that was really cool to see, that there's all kinds of different creators, because it shows that the passion for Pokemon is absolutely very much still alive.
Absolutely.
Like so much more so than I think I realized. Because for me, I was really into Pokemon as a kid when it came out in the 90s. I've been aware of it, it's just kind of always been around.
Mm,
But getting back into this, I was like, oh, I wonder how alive it really is. And it's
mm.
very, very much alive, isn't it, Andy?
It really is, and this is the exciting thing for us is it's new to China, 2022. Man, it's booming. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm seeing it on oolong tea bottles. I'm seeing it on posters. I'm seeing statues of Gengars and everything going on. It's just really an amazing thing to um, not know much about Pokemon. I've told the story before on our channel that I was dressed up as Pikachu for one of my Halloween events a few years ago. So I've always been aware of Pikachu and of course some of the videos and the cartoons, but I didn't know much about the card game, and it is just going crazy these days. And I this gives me so much excitement that when we're learning it, for all these things through the first year, we're hopefully transferring that to you guys, what we're seeing, what we're feeling, what we're understanding from China and this amazing growth.
Yeah, we definitely have learned how differently China does Pokemon compared to the US, right?
Mm,
And then with, stores expanding, remodeling, where to be to get the latest drop,
right.
like figuring out for Andy, like the how the shop was nestled in the mall, and how
Mm,
you could get in through the subway
right.
exit
Mm.
entrance,
The
and
red rope,
little things
Amory.
like that.
The red rope.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, like having to prove like what a hardcore fan you were,
Right.
and just also, so how China's doing this whole thing of rolling these out and having these like, um, having these shops, and how they're growing the stores
Mm,
and stuff, but also like China, in my opinion, with these stores, they are doing it with excellence. Like I
mm.
have not, so we don't have official
Agreed.
stores in the US, so we don't get to see stuff like this. It's usually through like a game store or a card
Yep.
store, or like a
Yep.
greater store that just so happens to also sell Pokemon. We don't have
Yep.
official Pokemon stores.
Right.
And so the times where, and we've reviewed like that remodel of that store near you,
Mm,
like how well it is done in China. They are taking this like very seriously.
mm.
Like it is done so well, to the point to where they have these official Pokemon stores, and they have their own mascots,
Yep. Yep.
like
Yep.
it's so cool. So China's like, yeah, love Pokemon, that's really cool. Here's how we make it work for us. And I feel like they're just doing that so well.
It
So
really
well.
is. It's a revolution. It's an aesthetic, collectors, gamers revolution going on here. And as you say so well, it's really being taken care of in such a careful, wonderful way by Nintendo Pokemon China. They're doing a great job. Game Freak, they're doing such a great job. So it keeps us going, Emery, right? I mean, learning more about this is exciting because it applies to this continuing amazing situation.
Yeah, and I think that also we eventually, and every content creator gets to this point, you just learn to relax and enjoy yourself. You try not to take yourself too seriously. Nobody likes the way they look and sound on
Right,
camera,
right,
and so
right.
just focusing on something that you like and enjoy, that you have a good time with people that you enjoy, doing this kind of stuff with.
Mm,
That's really what it's about at the end of the day. Because if you like, if you're starting, a channel about stuff that you don't care about, the hard days or the frustrating days or the learning curves is really going to be hard. And so like just learning to relax and have fun was I think a really big lesson. Even if that we came around to that by just being desensitized by doing it over and over and over again. It's like, okay, yep, that's me on camera. Yep, that's the way I look.
That's
like,
as
yep,
good as
cool.
it's going to get.
So
Right.
right. Yeah. I'm just going to accept it for what it is. Like we keep our old, like our, very first couple episodes up for that reason. It's like, yeah, that's part of the journey. That is like part of this. Like,
absolutely.
We didn't walk into this pros. So, just relaxing, not taking yourself too seriously and having a good time. So yeah, it's been really good. Lots of really interesting lessons learned. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat or in the comments section. And if you want to learn more about this, we could totally make a more extensive episode. But this touched on like what we learned so far over the past year, and so thank you for coming along with us and watching our content. Hit that like button, share it with somebody who might find it interesting or beneficial. Subscribe so that you know when the next episodes are coming out. We do all kinds of different content. And so, thanks for sticking around. Love y'all and have a great day. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.